It's been almost 24 hours since a medical chopper crashed on Highway 50 in Sacramento.
Tonight, the pilot, a nurse, and a paramedic are all being treated for critical injuries at the UC Davis Medical Center.
Yeah, and today we're hearing from the people who jumped into action to rescue those crew members.
Our Investigates team is also looking into the history of medical helicopter crashes across the U.S. and the potential reason the helicopter didn't burst into flames.
But we want to start tonight with the final radio call from the helicopter to Sacramento Executive Airport's tower, and this is just minutes before that crash.
Exec Tower, reset 5, lifting from UC Davis en route to McClellan. Reset 5, function lifting, 5 for lift, wind calm, altimeter 2979. 2979.
Tonight, the FAA and the NTSB are leading the investigation into what happened in the moments before the crash. We have been in close contact with the UC Davis Medical Center today, waiting for an update on the condition of those 3 victims. We know all 3 were taken there in critical condition. We have not received an update since last night. There were no patients on board that helicopter when it crashed, and no one on the ground was injured.
Tonight, friends are confirming one of the people critically hurt in that chopper is longtime flight nurse Susie Smith. A friend in Redding who also works in the medical field tells me Susie went to Nicaragua every year to fix cleft palates, and is the most giving person she's ever known. And she just saw her this past Friday.
You know, I got my usual hug and we were talking, and I said, well, what about you, Susie? When are you wanting to retire? And she looked at me with her pretty blue eyes and she just said, I still love my job, Mary. I'm not close to being ready to retire yet.
Well, Mary there wants to thank the people who helped lift that helicopter off one of the victims, saying it shows people can still come together. Another friend we spoke with tonight said Susie's brain is swelling, so she is still extremely critical. And right now we are working to get more information on the pilot and the paramedic, also critically hurt.
Tonight, new video shows the helicopter's moment of impact on Highway 50. This is dash cam video. You can see that helicopter coming in very low on the right side of your screen. Once the helicopter cleared those trees, you saw it crash hard into a highway embankment and then skid across all lanes. You can also see what looks like basically white smoke coming from the scene right after the crash. People jumped out of their cars, running over to find ways to help the crew.
And we have a better idea of what the helicopter was doing in the hours before that crash. The flight logs show it left Red Bluff Municipal Airport at 5:50. 45 minutes later, the chopper arrived at the UC Davis Medical Center, and just after 7, you heard the pilot request liftoff from the UC Davis Medical Center. It was just seconds later that helicopter crashed on Highway 50.
And again, after that crash, people got out of their cars and rushed in to help. Some helped firefighters lift and push the helicopter off of one of the victims who was trapped underneath.
Just ran up to the helicopter, grabbed a piece of the tail section there where there was a space, and when they started to tell us to lift, we started lifting it up.
So I jumped out of the car and ran up there, and at the time there were only, I don't know, 3 or 4 people around the helicopter. One was down trying to talk to one of the paramedics, and she was obviously pinned in by the helicopter itself, and she at least was moving, but we're trying to keep her still so that she wasn't, going to cause any damage from her contact with the metal. And so I was holding her legs while the lady up front was trying to talk her down and make sure she, calmed down a bit.
It was just amazing how many people just started running to help, and I thought, I guess I just thought this was amazing, and I started taking a video of it. And I mean, people didn't question.
Well, tonight we are hearing the first moments officials were alerted of the crash. The Sacramento Sheriff's helicopter Star 7 notified the tower about it. Here is some of that 12-minute exchange.
Reports of the helicopter crash, Highway 50 and Howe Avenue. You have any info? Helicopter crash? Yeah, there's also, might have been a medevac there, so they might just be completely confusing it. Did you have somebody land there recently? Negative. I had one depart. It's just north of the Med Center. Be looking. Star 7, then you said they're okay? No idea yet. We don't have any confirmation on anything just yet. There's a plume of smoke though. It's in the middle of the freeway. We're getting medical to them immediately. Its transponder just popped back on. It is Reach 5. Ambulances are here. They're working on them. They just radioed everybody's still alive in the thing.
Yeah, that last part was just information we were all waiting to hear. So today, first responders who were on the ground and in the sky during this response talked to us about the teamwork that it took to help those victims. And Gulston's here now with those perspectives.
Just think about the people who happened to be in the right place at this time, right? It really was something, including this guy. Deputy Duncan Brown was on a patrol flight for the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office. When we heard that there had been a crash, he said from the sky he tried to coordinate getting first responders to the scene, with traffic on 50 complicating those efforts.
It was complex. The freeway backed up immediately, and we could see all kinds of first responders trying to get to it, and they just couldn't. So we suggested coming in backwards on the freeway to it. One of our canines got there immediately and started dealing with it on the ground.
Now, while he couldn't speak to the actual details of the crash itself, he does say, as someone with flight experience, he credits the pilot for navigating them through some challenging airspeeds and altitudes to as safe a place as possible.
He was able to keep his momentum and clear all those houses to Highway 50, and then find a open spot on Highway 50 where he didn't hit any civilians as well, too. So major credit to that pilot.
Yeah, that helicopter had just taken off when it ran into problems, and that means the pilot really just had seconds to find a safe place to land. And again, it's just amazing that the right people were in the area to jump in to help, and there were no cars in the area where that pilot had to pick.
And it appears, I mean, very experienced pilot, because today we talked to Live Copter 3 pilot Dan Oppenheim, who also described what may have been incredibly precise and important decisions in those critical moments.
That pilot managed to avoid a residential area. They were, if I had to guess, less than 500 feet over houses, and managed to get the helicopter about a quarter of a mile to an open roadway. They didn't come into contact with any vehicles. I didn't see any substantial damage to property on the ground. So that pilot and crew managed to keep the helicopter from causing any extra harm to anyone on the ground. Landing on the highway and blocking a highway for a few hours is an inconvenience. Crashing into someone's house can be deadly.
So we're getting a better idea of the helicopter's flight path. In the seconds after takeoff, we now know that chopper was only in the air for less than 30 seconds before coming down on Highway 50. So take a look at this animation that we put together of the flight path. The first signal from the helicopter shows it took off at 7:05 and 12 seconds. 7 seconds later, it reaches the maximum altitude of 475 feet, and then the helicopter immediately starts losing altitude. Look at that neighborhood right there. That last signal was at about 250 feet at 7:05:30, which is less than 20 seconds after leaving the helipad. Moments later, it crashes right there in the freeway. That entire flight lasting less than 30 seconds. And we're learning more about the helicopter that did crash, known as Reach 5. It was an H-130. That's an Airbus helicopter. It has a single engine. It's tailored to moving people and medical missions. Reach has this photo on its website of the same type of chopper. Federal records show the chopper that crashed was manufactured in 2021. Reach, by the way, stands for Redwood Empire Air Care Helicopter. They offer critical care air services throughout California, Nevada, Oregon, Colorado, and Wyoming.
All day, our Investigates team has been looking into other incidents involving Reach helicopters in our area. There have been two in the past decade. The first was in Apple Valley back in November of 2015. That happened as firefighters were training to load and unload patients. A towel that was unsecured near the landing site was caught up into a tail rotor that has a cover on it. There were no injuries. That was less than 3 feet off the ground when that happened. The second incident was in December of 2015. 2022. During a cruise flight at dusk, they spotted a flock of birds at about 1,500 feet. The pilot was wearing night vision goggles. They tried to climb to avoid the birds, and that's when they heard a loud bang. The aircraft began to vibrate, and the pilot did land safely in a nearby field. The bird had hit the windshield and damaged the windscreen, but there were no malfunctions and there were no injuries.
So Adria Flores joins us now, and you've been looking into emergency helicopter crashes. What have you learned?
Yeah, we have a lot of data from across the country, and we've been looking into air ambulances and accidents based on data from the NTSB and the FAA. So here's what we've learned. Looking into all helicopter air ambulance services, the Air Medical Journal analyzed accident data from 2010 to 2021. Their report shows between 2010 and 2015, the NTSB reported 47 incidents. 21 of them were deadly. Now, from 2016 to 2021, we see a big difference here. There were 36 accidents, and 6 of them were fatal. That's a significant reduction in deadly accidents when you look at that data. So the Air Medical Journal says this could be due to changes in regulations, training, safety awareness initiatives, and advancements in technology.
All right, thank you. And some of those advancements may have played a role in why the helicopter did not explode into flames. According to Reach, this chopper, manufactured in 2021, had what's called a crash-resistant fuel system. This essentially keeps any fuel from leaking out and exploding. It's something the NTSB recommended Airbus choppers like this one have after 2 crashes in 2015, where people survived the chopper crash but died of burn injuries because the jet fuel exploded.
We will, of course, continue to follow this on air and online, especially as we get updates on the condition of those 3 crew members who were injured in the crash. We are also following the investigation into what happened to that helicopter.